All right, God bless you guys. So I'm only here. I only come here when God puts something in my heart. Like when I feel God has been insisting, and it's been for 3 days. So I feel like someone needs a reminder. Someone needs to hear this. So God has reminded me lately and has been telling me, like, wasn't it good that you waited for me, Gina? Like, look what happened when you waited. Look what happened when you didn't put your hand in. Look what happened when you didn't speak, when you stayed quiet and you waited on me. And I was like, you know what, God, you're right. Because every time I try to do something and you told me not to do it, I would mess it up. And I feel like someone needs to hear this. Wait on the Lord. Wait on the Lord. I know that maybe someone did you wrong and you want to, or God made you a promise and you were like, God, but I don't see it happening. Like, you gave me this promise a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and I don't see it. Or many of you like gave up on the promise that God gave you. If God gave you a promise and it didn't come to pass in the time that you want it, because it's not in your time, it's in God's time. So you gave up because you weren't patient enough, because you feel like God wasn't gonna answer you. And let me tell you, I've been in my walk for what? Almost going, I think, 11, 12 years. I lost count, but I'm there. And during my walk with the Lord, I can tell you, like, when I first came to Christ, He would answer me right away. Like, He would give me a word, the following week it would be done. Like, I wouldn't have to do nothing. Because there are promises and things that God's going to do in your life that you don't have to do anything. You just have to believe. Like, no action. It's, you know, expected from you. Of course, besides obedience, keep seeking the Lord, keep reading the Bible, being obedient to the Lord, right? But there's things that God gives you a promise that you have to act on it too, besides being obedient, besides reading the Bible. For example, when God told me, like, you're going to have, like, I'm going to give you education back, I had to put that part on and believe the Lord and go back to school, right? But there's things that God tells you that you don't have to do anything. Just obey, keep following His word, and, He'll do it. And one of the words that took the longest for me, for God to fulfill in my life, I'm going to be honest, without me doing anything, just being obedient, is God. When I first came to the gospel, I think like a year and a half in or two, God promised me that He was going to give me my dad back. Like, He was like, your dad's going to come back. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, how's that going to happen? Because he's been married to this woman for so long, like, how is my dad gonna come back to me when I lost all of my childhood? Like, I'm already an adult. Like, I really don't need my dad. But God wanted to fulfill that desire in my heart, and my dad, God wanted to fulfill that in my heart, and God wanted to work in my dad as well. So, I remember that the Lord gave me that promise, and I would think about it because I knew that I couldn't do nothing about it. I knew that I couldn't put my hand in the marriage that he was in. I knew that I couldn't sabotage anything, that God had to take care of that, because I didn't even know how my dad was going to come back. So a year passed, 2 years passed, 3 years passed, 4 years passed, 5 years passed, 6 years passed. And then my dad came back. My dad reached out to me, and it was all God's doing. It was not even me. It was God's doing, speaking to him and, moving his spirit, his mind, his body to come back to me. So with that story, with that testimony, I want to tell you that, yes, it was hard. I mean, I did think about it, and at some point I was like, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. God's going to do something. And I knew I couldn't do nothing about it. And, I waited, and I was patient with God, because I never put my hand in that word. I never did anything to sabotage his marriage or sabotage anything with that woman that he was with. But I just like, God, you said it, and if it doesn't happen, then it's fine. Like, it is what it is. I'm already an adult. And I already knew that God was my father. Like, God was filling areas in my life as a father would. So God was already working on me as well. So there's things in your life that God is gonna make you wait, because he's working in you as well. Because if God had given him my father back before I was healed, I wouldn't have appreciated my father. I would have been like, you Malay, like, I'm an adult already, like, I don't need you. Like, I will find him like he's bothering me, like he's interrupting my life. And I wouldn't want his love because I'm like, yo, I'm already old, you know? But as I said, as I was waiting, God was also showing me his fatherly love, who God is as a father. And then I understood the love of a father. So when my father, my real earthly father came, I was like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to receive from my father and what it is to be loved. And my dad was able to give that, you know? So I just want to say, if God has given you a promise, if God has told you he's going to do something, he's going to do it. And even if it takes years, he's going to do it because God is faithful. God is faithful. Now, when God told me that he was going to give me an education back, I had to put the work in. I had to sign up to go back to school. So you just have to know which promises God has promised you and that you need to work on and do your part too, besides being obedient, because being obedient is a big key in God fulfilling his promises in your life. But also, sometimes you need to act on it, but sometimes you don't. Just leave it and God will do it. So if you're waiting for God to do something, keep waiting, keep trusting, keep seeking, keep obeying, because it's coming. God's going to give it to you. That's all I want to share. God bless you guys.